Another way I coped with living in an emotionally neglectful home was I liked watching horror movies and genres my parents never approved of when I was young. Some of these titles in my early 20s that I liked to watch was things like American Werewolf in London, Back to the Future. I really got into a lot of the Marvel movies, things like Avengers and Ghost Rider. I really enjoy Wes Anderson movies. So if you've never seen movies like Rushmore, I would definitely recommend. It's basically a 15-year-old kid living in an expensive private boarding academy that creates havoc. I would definitely say my favorite movie would be the original Spider-Man trilogy of the 2000s. I'm not big into superheroes, but it was a lot of fun to experience, especially in my early teens and early 20s. I liked thrillers, so I kind of watched things like The Sixth Sense. If you haven't seen it, it's basically a boy that can see ghosts. I think it was 1999. I really got into Star Wars. If you haven't gotten into it, it's kind of like Star Trek. Some people would call it better, but I don't like comparing franchises. I mean, they're good in their own way. I really enjoy a lot of like gangster movies, things like The Godfather. I like a lot of Martin Scorsese movies. The one that was really interesting to me was Taxi Driver or Hugo. It's about a little boy who lives in France in the train station. I really got into fantasy when I was young, and one of my favorite was based on a kid book series, the Spiderwick Chronicles. I think they recently made a TV show. But it's very much like Fantastic Beasts, but different, I guess. I really like Roald Dahl's books, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka, Matilda. If you haven't seen those, I would definitely recommend. I've seen all the Spider-Mans, the ones with Tom Holland, the ones with Andrew Garfield, like The Amazing Spider-Man, the original trilogy, kind of like those. Of course, I mentioned earlier that I like Minions, so Despicable Me is probably really up there. I just watched Minions 2, The Rise of Gru again, and last night I watched Despicable Me 4 with my roommate. It was a lot of fun. It's not as good as the first Despicable Me, but, there's a lot of quality and some interesting storylines and new characters. Falling back into the horror genre, I really do like Final Destination. I think they released their 6th movie earlier this summer. Very interesting. Basically, it's people who cheat death and then realize by the end of the movie that there's nowhere to run. I really like the musicals like The Greatest Showman. It's not historically accurate, but it's interesting. Coming around this time of year, Home Alone, A Christmas Story, basically all of the Christmas movies are a lot of fun. I always watch A Christmas Story on Halloween through TBS. Sometimes I like alien movies. I've seen E.T., American Dad, The Forgotten. That's fun, from 2004. Basically, a woman finds out that her son dies and everyone starts forgetting. And I've always been a big Johnny Depp fan, so I've seen all of his movies. But there is one that is based on J.M. Barrie's real life, Finding Neverland. I always liked that movie. I need to rewatch that. And it was a lot of fun. I've worked my way through all the Disney movies. There's so many movies to do. I've gone through Nickelodeon. I've seen all the seasons of SpongeBob. They probably should have stopped after the 5th season, but I'll take it as a win. I mean, it could always be better, but it is what it is. I've always liked animated shows. They were a lot of fun. And I mean, I'm just a cinephile. I like what I watch, and it's a lot of fun for me. And if you're not into movies, but you prefer books, that's okay. I mean, I found ways to cope in an emotionally neglectful home. Yeah, my parents, they provided everything. Sometimes they would hug me, but we never had heart-to-heart talks. We never talked about our feelings. We never talked about coming of age or being a young adult. Never had a sex talk. It's kind of like if your parents provide everything, but there's nothing there emotionally. And it can be extremely isolating, and I would not wish that kind of life on anybody. And my siblings really weren't that much better. Yeah, we spent time together, but that doesn't mean you're bonding, and it doesn't mean you're close, and it doesn't mean you have an emotional connection. And I spent the first 30 years of my life without any human connection besides sitting next to somebody at breakfast. That's not really connecting. If people were connecting like that, most marriages wouldn't end in divorce. My family mistakenly thought that proximity breeds intimacy. It doesn't. It usually breeds contempt. But in my family, it was indifference. That's what it bred. And it's real sad to say, but I can't honestly say I'm close to anyone in my family. And my eldest two brothers, I don't really blame them because they left home before I was 6 years old. So we didn't grow up together, and they lived on the other side of the U.S. And they were always moving and having kids, so I don't blame them at all. But everyone else in my family, and if you want to type in deconstruction, you'll probably find the videos about my childhood and everyone I've known. It was just, it's kind of like my family was a toy you buy with great expectations and nothing ever materializes. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's just a great letdown. And that's kind of why I found solace and happiness in entertainment. And as a young person, it helped me get through 25 years of just being miserable. And everyone copes in a different way. Luckily, I have therapy now. And I seldomly cope in those ways anymore.